And here we are. Welcome everybody. Good morning, boys, girls of all ages. Afternoon, evening, nights. Anything behind the goods is probably well enough for us. Welcome to New York. Welcome to the Bronx. Welcome to Demon the Fallen. We are here. It is afternoon. Somewhere around 4 o'clock, as the church bells just made their sounds, and the school's coming out. Children are running around on the fields, happy to be released of their heavy duties and lessons, and the few moments of freedom before homework hits in. Oh, the bliss. The Bronx is a happy place for the moment, and we zoom in to the Fordham University, where a lot of students walking out of classrooms, walking on the school perimeter, going to their dormitories, talking to each other, hitting the streets for a cup of coffee or pizza or whatever. And in this ruckus, in this tumult, this chaos of bodies and people and persons, there we find a teacher, a theology teacher, who's just returned from his sabbatical. And he cleans up his classroom, packs his bags, and probably heads outside towards his car. This is where we begin.
Jacob Demora gets into his car and breathes a sigh of relief, happy that the day is over. It's been more difficult for him than he realized getting back on the job, but he likes what he's doing. And he pulls out of the parking lot and heads for his home.
He heads home. The traffic it's busy. Of course, it's busy. Everybody is at least all the 9 to 5 jobs, or actually the 8 to 4s in this case, are about to head home. Traffic starts to clog a little. While this is happening, we also zoom into another location, a little further away, a place where Thomas, the Rev Grace, is sitting, thinking to himself, pondering maybe what is going on. It's been silence for weeks now, not just on the streets, but also with the courts. What is the Rev doing?
The Rev's, like always, patrolling his neighborhood, which is the Bronx. He's a watchful father to those who are homeless, a scourge to villains if they see him. And he walks around, the tall black man walks around wearing a heavy overcoat of leather. It's almost a raincoat that long. He's walking with his hands in his pocket, and he's looking over the street where he can see the schools indeed outing and people finding their way home. He ponders and he looks at them because they are unaware of what's happening in the streets on a day-to-day basis. He walks around.
As he walks, all of a sudden, the earth begins to sway for a moment. It's almost a wave of dizziness that he's feeling. It's not actually an earthquake, but for you, it seems as if the ground is shaking for a moment as your supernatural gaze, your eyesight beyond the normal, just zooms in on a corner. A street corner. There's a little hotdog stand, and for some reason, you need to buy a hot dog. You can feel that. It's very important for the cause and the course of this world and the course of something that you do not know yet what it is, but it's very important that you are there on that corner buying a hot dog.
The sergeant looks around himself, watches as he crosses the street, and then he goes out to find that hot dog stand and buy the thing that he saw himself buying before. Not knowing what effect the buying of this hot dog does, it doesn't mean that it does not need to occur. It's a time in this ripple, in his neighborhood, which he needs to do, which is stuck. And he goes over to that hot dog stand and he waits in line if there's others. And then he simply orders the most simple hot dog there is. Oh no, he orders the hot dog with everything on it.
And while he does that, we will zoom back to the car where our dearest teacher, Mr. Jacob Demora, is driving. And what goes on in his mind, in his little mortal mind? Traffic maybe, day-to-day stress. Is it getting too tough for him?
Yeah, he will. He's trying to. He's unwittingly zoning out at the moment, wondering what he should have for dinner that night. He doesn't really want to do anything, but he can't. He knows he can't eat pizza every day, also. So he's just like sitting in his car, going like the daily routine, not really thinking about important stuff at the moment.
And as he is thinking, wondering whether he should take a pepperoni pizza or maybe a pineapple pizza Hawaii, he approaches the crossroads. He will notice a hot dog stand and the line and the children on the street, but only ever so slightly. It's as if this world is just becoming more and more gray. It's not interesting enough anymore. Who cares about the goddamn pizza? Who cares about the weather? Who cares about the lessons that need to be given? Tomorrow, another day, another boring day. It just doesn't matter anymore. And as you stare at the people on the streets, on the pavements, buying hot dogs, walking, talking, on the phone or with friends. And that's when all of a sudden, BAM! A car, you hadn't spotted it. A red sedan, just in a flash. Was it your fault? Was it his fault? Did you drive through a red light, or was this guy just in a hurry? You have seconds. Well, maybe longer. You don't know. How long does it take? It seems to go slowly. The cars just seem to slowly, in your mind, collide into each other, crashing. You can see the the mirrors and the windows crumbling into pieces as it seems to go on for hours and hours and hours, this crash, and you think back on your life. And as Jacob Demora experiences the final moments of his life, we zoom towards a different dimension, different worlds. Darkness, nothing but darkness, nothingness, a vast amount of nothingness, where you slowly become crazy simply by having nothing to focus on, having nothing around you. We zoom into the abyss, the place, the prison of the demons, where they were thrown in after the war, after they lost their battle against the host, against the highest and mightiest being ever. There is no beginning and no end to this. Has the abyss always been there? We don't know. Maybe it's been created especially for us, or maybe it was just found and opened especially for us. But here we find ourselves. We find still thousands and thousands of demons. And in this vast amount of nothingness, with the tormented fallen angels who've been stuck there for centuries upon centuries, millennia, eons, we find one particular demon. We find Mariel. He is not doing much. Well, there's not much you can do when there's nothing around you. He looks up, probably, at the maelstrom, this typhoon that closes off the abyss. And he sees a light there, just that light. No one else seems to notice it. No one else seems to see it but you.
And Marielle will, on a hunch, he will reach. He will reach for the light, and he has never seen. He has in untold eons. He has never seen anything but the maelstrom as he looked up, and the sight of light suddenly is like a breath from the old days, even from before the rebellion, where he walked in light. So he will eagerly try to reach the light.
So Mariel, extending his wings, flying up, trying to touch this light, and the winds start to bash in on his body, ripping on his wings, trying to beat him back down into the abyss, but he keeps on fighting and fighting and fighting. You might even see others trying. He tries with all his might. He tries with all his strength. The others are falling back down into the abyss. He actually pushes one, and someone who is there before him, it's starting to become a fight where he grabs the ankle of the person above him, closer to the light, and he pulls him down, and this person just falls, has to give up as Mariel keeps pushing and pushing and pushing towards this light. It's growing bigger. The winds crash in on him. It's worse than anything he's ever experienced, this struggle. And as he struggles, he might think back on the days past, but soon even that falls away, and the only thing that's there is the struggle between the angel, between this devil and the winds as they beat and beat and beat. They almost seem to tear his flesh apart, at the point where he is where he thinks that he cannot go any further, where he's about to give up. The moment that he thinks he's going to crash back into that place, but he doesn't want to go back, and with one final push, he pushes himself through, and he floats into nothing. He sees the world, a world that he has not seen for so long, a world that he has dreamed about, that he has hated and loved, and all of the emotions in between there. He has cried over, and grieved for. And it's there, just beyond his reach. How does he feel?
Can you guys still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Mariel looks around in what appears to be one moment in eternity. He does not really take a lot of time to stop and smell the roses, but he can feel the pull of the abyss trying to get him to pull him back, and he is desperate to not have that happen. So he will look around, and he will search, and he will come across a certain intersection where he can see a man, a mortal, who is about to expire, and not thinking about whether or not it's right. He will simply he will simply conclude that this mortal was going to die anyway, and will rush towards him, trying his best to enter this man.
This is what Mariel does, as he is on the spiritual plane of the world, with this still pulling on him, still luring him in. And he sees all these spirits floating, some strong, some weak, and as he finds this one intersection and this one spirit that slowly dies out, he pushes it aside, giving it the extra push that it needed to go on to, well, you're not a slayer. This was never your concern. But the soul moves on. You push it out, push it away, and this body, you slowly, slowly sift into it, almost as, how to explain this, as water just slowly getting sifted in by a sponge or a piece of cloth. Your soul just emerges into this human host. And you open your eyes. It feels strange. It's like, it feels compromised. You feel the pain of this body as it starts to heal. As soon as you entered, it started to heal up. And you know that's only once. It starts to heal its wounds. You still feel very, very uncomfortable as something is pressing against your side and something is pressing against your shoulder, and you feel the pain and the emotions. And with this, we will leave Mariel, and we will go to the Rev, who was there at the intersection eating a hot dog. And as he was looking around to see what would possibly happen, why he was possibly lured into this, he just looks at the crossroads and sees a car and a teacher or someone that he actually doesn't know yet. And as soon as they lock eyes for a moment, he will know. The crash happens seconds after. Rev, what do you do?
Well, seeing, I don't know, how does the crash look like? I can see there's a crash. He's crashing. Is he crashing from the side? Is he crashing from the front?
There is a red sedan is like crashed into his side on the driver's, into basically the driver's seat area. There is the windows of both cars have splashed open, and one of the guys is the passenger, not the passenger, but the driver of the red sedan just flew out of the car and is lying on the street a little bit further off, and the guy in the other car is like dangling against his steering wheel, seemingly not conscious.
Well, the Rev does know a little bit medicine. So in his mind he uses triage techniques, which simply means that who has the best chance of surviving this ordeal, and who has the worst, and who is in need of his aid the most. Can I make a perception medical roll?
Yes, you can. Difficulty 9.
That's perfect.
Sorry, you can't just judge something like that just simply by looking.
No.
Well, it's if I see a head rolling away, that's an easy one.
Of course.
But I'll roll nonetheless.
But then I wouldn't have...
crap, fucking ones. I got a 9.
I'm sorry. You have the feeling that both of them... well, you don't see any body parts flying around, because then I wouldn't have made... you wouldn't have need to make the roll. Both of the guys are not moving. The guy on the street is... there is a large pool of blood coming from a head wound. The guy behind the steering wheel, you do not know. You cannot see. He's just lying there. He's not moving.
Well, then, first of all, the the sergeant will look at the streets, looks around him if others come to his aid, always making sure that he is not himself in danger before running out to help others.
Well, as the accident happened, you saw multiple cars just hitting their brakes. Behind them, cars are honking. There's this chaos. People are shouting and screaming. And oh my God! One of the a woman next to you actually faints because probably she can't stand the sight of blood, or maybe just not crashing, or she has a traumatic experience. Who knows what? There's complete chaos on the streets. But you will also see one of the guys grabbing his cell phone, starting to call 911, reporting an accident on whatever Winchester Road, crossing with the 45th Street. Two cars, two people are wounded. Well, he starts to just give on explanations to the emergency personnel.
With the high perception, the sergeant hears everything and tries to look at everything, clearly over-sensing all his abilities, as he just flash reminds himself what he was here to do, buy a hot dog. And as he does so, he does remind himself that he did this for a reason. I did this because he was meant to be here. And he goes to the car of the person he locked eyes with for those milliseconds in time, which could last a century, he knows. And running on the road he does, his heavy boots hitting the asphalt, his coat flapping as he makes his way to the driver getting hit at the side of the car.
Okay. As you do so, and you realized, of course, you had to get the hot dog. Well, you could just have grabbed 10 hot dogs because the salesman is definitely looking at the accident and not at his hot dog stand anymore. But please be kind enough to make me that perception awareness roll that we were discussing earlier.
Of course. All the ones.
Well, there's still a success there. There is something
technically,
happening.
there's 2 successes because it's still perception.
It's still perception, yes. And this is definitely something that you could use your specialty for, yes.
Right.
So, yes, there is something happening. It's, you don't know exactly what it is. But, wow, you feel for a moment, you feel that supernatural feeling that just takes over again, swarms in your head. There is something very close by. You don't know exactly what direction. I'll have you can make the roll for that later, because that's a different roll. But there is something major happening, something big. And now you can make your perception alertness roll.
That's 6 successes.
Yeah, guy behind the wheel. There it's happening. It's happening right there, behind that wheel. You can just know it for certain. That's where it's going on.
All right. Then he keeps running towards that guy. His intuition kind of told him he was needing to go for anyway. And as he runs that way, as he spurts his way to the greatest weirdness happening at this moment, he kneels next to the car and he tries to open the car door for as much as he can because the car hit it. He doesn't know how distraught it is.
You try to open or you try to even reach the car or the driver's door. There's a red sedan blocking the door. There's no way you can go through the door, but if you would look, and with your insane perception, you cannot miss it. I mean, a blind man, I would have to roll for this, but You crunch into the glass and you look at this this car crash and the two cars. Um, the front windows are gone. There's no way you can reach the door, but the front window is gone, and you can just. I mean, the car that you're looking at, the car with the driver still behind the wheel, for now, still not moving. The hood seems to be rather okay, as the other car crashed in its side. So you could easily step on the hood.
The Reverend jumps on the roof. The sergeant jumps on the roof, and then sort of lets himself with legs first slide himself into the car to see how the guy is doing who had the accident. Even though it's a supernatural occurrence, he still cares for, or at least he still wants to know what this human is about.
Very well. Well, as you kneel down and look into the car, even before you can slide next to this person, you will notice that some of the bruises and cuts on his face slowly starts to disappear. And at that point, the male in front of you, who seemingly was unconscious behind the wheel, is opening his eyes. And, well, Mark, you open your eyes. Your Jacob or Mariel opens the eyes and looks right into this face of this dark male.
And he will squint his eyes. His eyes will be shiny golden, with in a kind of they will be golden with a force that is not really possible normally, but that's the color. And he will squint his eyes and look like not questioningly, but like hesitantly at the stranger, not saying anything.
Assuming that the man is dazed, the sergeant will talk first. However, seeing for those brief moments that his eyes are not natural, his eyes are not completely human at that flicker of a moment, he just kind of whispers in a soft voice, "Sir, are you okay?"
I am free at last. I am free.
At this moment, the sergeant, damn it, the sergeant tries to observe if he had been locked or if he's an escaped prisoner. He knows something supernatural happened, and he understands the feeling of escape, but he doesn't know what he's dealing with at this moment, other than a supernatural person or supernatural occurrence. And he decides to just extend his hand to the person and say, "Let me help you, sir. Let's get out of this car before oil leaks and fire might wreak havoc to your escape."
And he will slowly extend his hand as if, and look at his hand as if he has not seen his hand has not seen a hand in eons. He will study it for a moment before he extends it to the sergeant. Yes, we need to go. Yes.
And sergeant will grab his hand quite strongly. He knows that police is coming, and he doesn't want to be seen as police and ambulance is coming to look at this wreckage. He doesn't want that kind of attention. He'd rather hide in the street than be up in the papers as a potential hero of some sort. And he will help the young man, the man out of the car.
Would you mind rolling me a let's see what would work. I think that would work. A dex survival, please.
Me?
Or larceny. No, Jesse.
Okay.
We don't have larceny, I believe, in the demon system. Great.
Yes, we have larceny.
We have larceny. Where do I have larceny? Because I don't see it.
No, wait. Let me see, because I remember.
Exactly.
I remember having.
Isn't larceny about breaking into stuff?
Yeah, we have larceny. We have
to break out. Okay,
yeah, we
I
have
can't
larceny.
see it on
There
the
you go.
sheets.
I have it on my sheet. There you go.
Very well. And please roll it, because you will need to
There you
wriggle
go.
him out. Okay, very well. That's 2 successes. Right. So you need to wriggle him out of a car wreck, even though the front of the car was not very much damaged and it is a very good escape route. The side on which Jacob is sitting is pretty much so damaged, and it's stuck. The driver is stuck. But with your larceny roll, you manage to, wriggle it this way. You manage to pull him out. Finally, it takes you ambulances coming closer, police driving in. They're not there. In the meanwhile, there are other people gathering around, because you're not the only one who wants to help. So people are already beside the car. There are people standing over the other guy that's lying on the pavement. Let me just roll a fate die for that guy, actually, because it'd be so mean to just finish him off. Huh. Oh, wow, that's a very lucky fucker. He is barely alive, apparently, you hear from the comments, but he is still breathing. And as I said, there are people standing around at the cars trying to give you a hand to help. Not really clutching everything, making it impossible, but people are standing around and they are talking and murmuring and pointing and helping you out. And people are asking, are you okay? Are you wounded? Is your neck hurting? Is your back hurting? Do you need to sit down? Do you want coffee? Do you want something stronger? Just wait here for a moment. The ambulance is coming. All these comments. Just
The Reverend, the sergeant knows this happened. This would have happened anyway.
Oh.
He wants to know what the special person was, but he can't pull him away from an accident. It will attract too much attention. Simply, the car of this human is still attached to his register, and he would just simply, he can't leave, but the sergeant can't be seen, not right now. He has nothing to hide, but he does remind himself of having a chase with some police cars not long ago. And the sergeant decides to, I have to make a roll. It's going to be a larceny dexterity roll. I'm going to slide my telephone, or a telephone I have, in the pocket of the man. I'm trying to carry him out, so he's used to me touching him as I help him, but I still need to slip that phone in there.
You'll get a lower difficulty against his perception alertness. So, Mark, if you would be as kind as to roll your perception alertness.
Yeah.
And Jesse, roll the larceny at div 5, and Mark, you can roll at div 7 for this.
Huh. No success.
Okay.
3 successes.
That phone is very simply slid in there in his pockets, and he doesn't feel a thing.
Then as soon as the Rev plants the phone, he kind of gives him to a he hands him over, so to speak, as everything is moving around, to one of the most claiming women at that point. There's a woman, there must be squeamish, wanting to help and do everything and claim the glory of saving this man. There must be a person that is there who wants to do everything just so they can get into the face of the news or just to.
Oh, pretty damn sure there is. Pretty damn sure there is.
And although he knows it won't help Jacob much, the Reverend needs to leave for a moment, of course, and he will almost hand over Jacob in his dazed situation right now to that woman, and he will tell that woman to get him water. But as soon as he does that, he will release his grab on Jacob, and she will start talking to him, I assume. And at that moment, the sergeant will take a step back, and then another step back, and then another step back. And as more people start swarming around this situation, he will go to a building close by. Not inside the building, he'll just stand at a corner, looking around the corner, keeping an eye on Jacob, keeping an eye on where the police is coming from, keeping an eye on his people, keeping his eye on the Bronx like he always does.
Yeah. Would you mind making me a
keeping in the
perception
shadows.
alertness?
Sorry?
Would you mind making me a perception alertness standard difficulty?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I was rolling for a couple of things.
Oh my god, how the hell do
Wow.
once I botch?
Well, fuck. Well, at
No,
least you don't.
technically I failed, but still.
Well, in that
You
case,
botch.
I'm sorry, but you will not notice the approach of, well,
That's a
someone,
lot of
you know.
ones.
Do you get any successes or nothing at all?
I get 2 9s and an 8 and 4 1s.
Wow. But don't you have your
At least
don't you have your lower eyesight? Didn't you have -2 difficulty?
Oh yeah, I did. But there was a 3 and a 2. It's not
Oh,
gonna
I
help
saw
me.
4s. Oh,
Or
okay.
maybe there was
Well,
a 4, but still,
okay.
I get no
Well,
successes at
you
that.
don't see Lily walking up on the street because this happened very close to Fordham University, so all the rolls in between were made. They were made mainly because I want to be able to give Lily a show. But
Yeah.
Lily did spot the Rev, and she did not know exactly what happened. That she was not close enough to actually be able to pinpoint, as the Rev was, what happened. But she did notice the supernatural occurrence, and she is walking up to the Rev now.
The Rev trying to make his way, trying to back up, so to speak, trying to get away from everything, is looking at everyone, but not behind him technically. Not assuming, he's listening behind him, but not assuming someone is behind him.
And that's where Lily just, well, she's not laying her hands on his shoulder, but she does expect him to know that she's there. So she is just looking at him and say, "Hey, Rev, what's going on?"
The moment she says, "Hey, Rev," she can see a hand is sliding at his hip, trying to get to one of his guns as a reactionary action, only to then recognize the voice as it being Lily's. And his hand stops moving, and he feels startled, and he hates it. He hates it, the fact that she caught him. He hates the fact that she got up on him without him noticing. And his shoulders slump down and says, "Hi, Lily."
So, what's happening?
I believe we just have a new visitor in the Bronx. One of our own.
I see. I felt something. No, she does not notice how caught you feel. I noticed something, but I did not. I wasn't close by. I was still at school. So, you noticed anything?
I noticed a man, the owner of that car, who was standing right over there in that blue blazer thing. You see that blonde woman trying to take care of him?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he just got an accident along with the guy on the floor. The guy on the floor drove into him on the
Oh.
on the right side at the driver's area, and the reverend tries to explain the entire accident,
Mm-hmm.
and then he
Little
says,
nods.
when I went to that guy, that specific guy, he was babbling about escape or finally being free,
And you
and
leave him alone.
also his wounds in his face start to heal up like he was assuming his perfect form.
Okay. And you leave him alone with a bunch of humans?
Um, I'm not sure how well you know these streets, but I know that somebody has called the ambulance, and therefore the police will arrive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the police is slowly arriving at the stage, and so is the ambulances, and we will zoom back to Mariel, leaving this situation for what it is for a moment, with Lily and the Rev just talking to each other
In a dark corner.
in a dark corner, staring at everything that's happening. Totally inconspicuous. Nothing weird is going on at all. So Mariel is there's this blonde woman who's like touching him, trying to see his. So can you move your arms? Can you put your chin on your chest? Can you? Do you need a glass of water? Do you need a bag? Are you feeling sick? Are you feeling nauseated? If you feel like you need to faint, put your head between your legs. Just go sit on the pavement, dear. Everything's gonna be okay. The ambulance is gonna. There's this. Wow, this woman talks a lot. And she's stressed.
Um, I'm always so close to saying Winston. Mariel will Mariel will do like her do what she asks of him, touch, and you will still look at his limbs as if they were something utterly new, um, and strange to him, and then put his hands on his head and said, I can feel in a
Did you
voice of
feel?
wonder.
What is it that you feel? Please talk to me. Then we can give as much information to the ambulance once they're coming. Just say what you're
I
feeling. Are you
feel.
feeling pain? Are you feeling numb? Do you feel hot or cold? If there's a light, don't go towards the light. It's like trying to help, but you're not
The
feeling
light. I am here because I went to the light. I am here because I went to the light. I feel alive. I am free.
well, that shuts the woman up. She stares at you like, dear, um, how many fingers? How many fingers?
And he looks at her hand and gives her the correct answer. 4 fingers.
Very well. Um, she just looks. Then just turns around to the next, maybe a friend of hers, another woman. It's like, I think he hit his head. She's checking his head for injuries, and that's probably when the ambulances and police are appearing, and they're taking, they're kind of ushering the people aside. The police just starts closing off the area. Slowly, all the people, just all the chaos just starts to dissipate, and well, the ambulance staff is taking you to an ambulance, to a brancard where you can sit and just examine all, you, and they get confused they're more confused by the minute, and finally they just. Sir, you seem to be in perfect health.
Yes, so
It's
it
a
would
miracle.
seem. Yeah, I'm alive. It is a
Yes, there
miracle.
you are, sir.
And he will sit there and try to keep himself from looking at his limbs constantly. But it's like the kind of urging he has to just to ascertain that he is actually alive. And he will look at the he will look at his surroundings. Wow. So this is what happened to the world.
Sir, um,
Uh, yes.
you appear to be fine. We would still like you to come over to the hospital for further examination.
Oh, okay.
Are you fine by yourself here for a while?
Yeah. Yes. I do not appear to be injured. No. Yes. I will go where you say.
Very well, sir. If you would just remain here, then we will help our colleagues with the other injured, and then we will bring the two of you to the hospital.
Oh, okay.
If everything stays okay, then we will be able to leave tomorrow.
Hmm? Oh, what is that over there? He says, looking at the hot dog stand, and then he goes over to the hot dog stand and looks at the he looks down at the stand for a moment. Then he, like, as if he focuses, and then he says, that is a hot dog. I believe that tastes fine. Taste, yeah. Taste. That's a funny idea.
The ambulance staff just let's see if they would notice. They are working very hard on the other guy who is barely alive. So let's give them a. But they would have a high. No, they are very, 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 very busy with the other guy. So
I
they
don't
did
think
not
they would care.
notice. They did not notice you wandering off. But some of the police will come up to you and ask you normal questions. So, sir, name and phone number, please. Do you have a driver's license, ID? And
Um,
as soon as you got it clear from the hospital, are you willing to answer some questions and drop by the office?
he will. Again, he will take a couple of moments to focus, and then he will say, "Oh, yes, I am. My name is Jacob," he says, and then after another second or so, he will pat his side pocket, and then he will pull out his wallet and look at it as if it is a bit strange, a bit curious. But he will open it, and he will take out his driver's license and look.
As you
Yes, I am.
feel in your side pocket, you will feel a phone that wasn't there before.
Um, he doesn't take the phone out but he takes note of the fact that it is there, and then he proceeds to answer the policeman's question.
Very well.
Um,
So they take your personalia, your name, your address. They will just look at the ID cards, and they'll just ask again, like, okay, so when you got it clear from the hospital, please drop by the office to answer some questions, sir.
I shall, he says, putting his wallet with his driver's license back in his pocket, and looking around at the scene in front of him, and he looks over at the man on the the ground, and he looks at him for a moment, and then he says, such a waste, such a waste. Why did they make these things when they're so dangerous? What a waste, he says with a bit of sadness in his voice as he moves off a little bit to look at a skyscraper, because the last time he saw a building this tall was in some of the first cities. Wow.
Well, in the meanwhile, the ambulance personnel is ready with. They stabilized the other driver, and they're loading him into the ambulance. And one of them will walk up to you, sir. We would like you to come to the hospital with us for some to make sure you are okay, sir.
Okay, yes, I will go. I will go with you. Lead on, he says as he follows the ambulance driver, still looking around at his surroundings, marveling that the humans have really managed to not outdo the angels in the first cities, but this is impressive as well.
And then, well, ambulance drives off, and the police starts to slowly clean up the area and the accidents, and I guess that's where we will end the scene. For
Yes,
now.
just before he drives off from the scene of the accident, the phone in his pocket will simply buzz and receive a text message. And the text message will read that after you're done with the hospital issues, come meet me, and then there's an address of a coffee shop close by the hospital.
Yeah.
Very well. And as Jacob, or as the ambulance actually approaches the Mercy Hospital, you will see a vast population of people in at the front entrance. The ambulance just drives past it, but you can look outside. You will see a lot of people there gathered in front of the hospital. They seem to have been camping out there for, well, a long while now, days, weeks, maybe. And that's what you see when you drive into the hospital. And we will end the scene, unless someone will want to do something.
No.
No? Well, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you, players, for playing, and have a lovely evening.